What's good everybody, je suis Quintella, bienvenue pour une nouvelle vidéo sur ma chaîne. Aujourd'hui on va s'entretenir avec Jordan Bufford, le dernier intervenant du Game Breaker, qui a travaillé pour les Warriors, les Las Vegas Raiders, le Super Bowl et a même organisé les derniers BET Awards pour les fans de musique. Cet entretien sera divisé en deux, la première partie sera diffusée aujourd'hui et la deuxième diffusée le 8 décembre 2020. Si tu aimes cette interview, je te laisse liker la vidéo, abonne-toi à la chaîne. Et voilà, moi il me reste plus qu'à te dire enjoy et see you later. What's good, everyone? So, welcome to my channel, Quintella. Out here with Jordan Bufford. You know him already. He was on the first episode of the Game Breaker. I'm super happy to having him for more details about his career, what is he doing right now, and his life as a whole. So, welcome to the channel, man. What's good over there?
What's going on, my man, King Taylor? Thank you for having me on once again. And like I said, was honored to be on the first episode of the Game Breaker. And just looking forward to our conversation, man. So good to see you again.
Thank you, man. Thank you. So,
Yep.
I wanted to, start by the beginning of of your life. So you're from Cleveland, Ohio. So can you tell us what does it mean for you to be from Cleveland and to grow up in that city?
I think for me personally, I think just being from Cleveland and what that means to you, like the value of that was instilled to me as a kid, just from my parents and things like that. So just that grit. Cleveland is known as like a blue collar city of where you earn everything you have. And I think, kind of LeBron kind of went off with that narrative too. But I think
Right.
it kind of sticks for everybody because it is like a representation of what Cleveland is. And, now that I've been around the country and kind of the world a little bit, I kind of take that and carry that with me in everything that I do. So I'm glad, to be from Cleveland and represent that city as a whole.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And I've never been to that city, but every time that I have the chance to talk with someone from that city, it is always the same. Nothing is given, everything is earned.
Yeah.
And that's the saying around there in Cleveland. So I really feel what you're saying right now. But I wanted also to ask you another question. So you're from Cleveland, so you went to high school, and then what happened in high school? What sport did you play, and what was your favorite sports at the time? What was going on in high school?
So I would say I started in sports probably at like 4, 5 years old. And my first love was basketball.
Hmm.
And then I would always play, basketball, AAU, in the city league, all type of things. But I was also doing the same thing with baseball. So once I got to high school, it was like either you do both or choose one. And you know how that is when you get to high school. It's like in college too. It's almost like a job in a way. So I ended up playing basketball and baseball in high school as well. Um, Basketball for almost 3 years, and then baseball for all 4 years in high school. And went on to the University of Mount Union to play there for a little bit. And then so that was my sport career up until this point.
I mean that is still a great sport career, and I want to ask you. So when you play basketball, so what was the position that you were playing in?
In basketball,
Yeah, point guard.
basketball, yeah, point guard. But I would say more of a combo guard. When I was younger, I was more of a two guard.
Mm-hmm.
But as I got older, I kind of transitioned into more of a point guard. And even if I play pickup today or just playing in a couple games, I like facilitating and kind of putting people in their spots. And I feel like that helped me outside of the game too. So
Yeah, I see what you mean, but
yeah.
like, but for a basketball player to be a point guard, it's a lot of responsibilities, and you have to be a leader in some type of way. And so I
Yeah.
think that's what you mean by saying that it has helped you outside of the basketball court.
Most definitely. And like I said, that leadership, whether you playing a game of basketball or
Hmm.
outside, man, that can take you a long way.
Yeah,
And it teaches you a lot about, yourself, but also like the delivery and how you try to communicate with other people too. So, and
yeah,
just, working towards things bigger than yourself. I think that's the biggest thing that sport teaches.
yeah. And so So you told us that you were in high school in Cleveland, and then you went for the Mount Union College. So tell us about, this experience, what you learned from there, and how does that help you to become the person that you are today?
So the University of Mount Union, I would say, had a big impact on my life because I think
Hmm.
after high school, I didn't really know where I wanted to go because I was so focused on trying to play baseball and pick a school for baseball. But at the same time, on the academic side of that, I had to think about what I wanted to do when I was done playing the game. You know what I mean? And I knew that I wanted to be in sport. I knew a little bit of the business side of sport, but didn't know a lot. And I knew that was something that I potentially wanted to do long term for my career. And it ended up being one of the top schools in the country for sport business and a decent baseball school as well. So I think that choice and going there, I didn't really like at first because it was a small school and I wanted to go to a bigger school. But at the end of the day, after those 4 years, it was the best decision for me.
So that school is located in Ohio too, right?
Correct. It's actually in Alliance, Ohio, and I'm from Cleveland, like we said. So, and Alliance is only like an hour and a half away from here, and I had never heard of the city. So, it was an even smaller town than Cleveland was. So, it was a new experience for me.
All right, but you know, high school is important, but college I feel is even more important because it has a bigger impact on you, and the studies that you made there are probably the things that you're gonna do in your life. I mean, here in France, you got a chance to spend 3 years in high school, and then you got to do, I mean, 3 years, and then if you want to do more, you got 2 years. So it's 5 years as a whole. But I feel like in the United States, spending 4 years trying to get that bachelor is very important for your experience. So you're from Cleveland, then you went to Mount Union. So tell us about, how did you got into the sports industry professionally? Because I know that you work for different, very, very famous companies such like the ESPN, the Super Bowl, the Raiders, and the Warriors. So tell us about, how did you get in that industry, and what was your very first experience as a sport professional?
So, I would say going back to my time at Mount Union, that
Mm-hmm.
was my first time being able to like see firsthand what it meant to be part of the sport industry. Taking on opportunities like the World Series when I was at Mount Union, or doing sponsorship proposals for the Cleveland Browns, or doing sales and ticketing for the Cleveland Cavaliers. So like that was my first kind of getting my feet wet. You'll hear a lot of people say that in our industry.
Yeah.
Then when I moved out to the Bay Area and went to the University of San Francisco, I didn't have a job or anything going out into that point. So it was
Mm-hmm.
just kind of like a leap of faith. And I wanted to work with the Warriors first, but my first job ended up being with the Oakland A's. And I'm just so thankful for that opportunity because it opened up, like you said, being able to work with the Raiders and the Warriors, but also have time to be able to take on interests, not necessarily in the sport industry, but say like the entertainment, media, technology sector too. So being
Mm-hmm.
able to do the BET Awards and Soul Train Awards and Las Vegas Bowl and Super Bowls and things like that, man, I think has just opened my mind to like it being bigger than just what most people think the sport industry is and just working for a team and things like that. The whole business side of it too. It's a lot there for a lot of people that are interested in the
Yeah, for sure.
industry.
So you said that you started with, doing proposal and sponsorship for the Cleveland Browns and doing ticketing for the Cleveland Cavaliers. Could you explain to our viewers a little bit more in details what it entails to do those sponsorships and those ticketing strategies for the Cleveland Browns and for the Cleveland Cavaliers? Because here in France, it's not the same type of business. It's not the same type of influence that basketball has on the society. But on the other end, you have the United States and you have basketball being, I mean, sure, a religion. I mean, it's a religion out there in the United States. So can you tell us about that strategy and how can you build out a strategy to sell more tickets or to try to be a partner with Mercedes Benz or with other market blue chip brands.
Mhm. Yeah, man, even for me, like both of us, like you said, we grew up sport fans. We grew up knowing how much of an impact it had on society, and you saw it from that lens. But where you're on the business side of it, man, like say you go to a game, you're not even thinking of it, just on what's happening on like the physical part of the game and the players playing. You're looking at branding, partnerships, like you said, sales strategy. How are we going to fill the seats? And I think being able to be from Cleveland, which is a small city, like we know, and work with, say, like the Browns and the Cavaliers and the Oakland A's, even, those cities are identified as hard cities to sell, hard teams to sell. So if you're in a sales role, you're learning skills that are going to help you, down the road. You're learning skills that, when LeBron is with the Cleveland Cavaliers, of course, it's easy to sell. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The seats are going to fill. But say, like when he left, you have to put together strategies. You have to, think outside of the box and be able to do experiential marketing, use your corporate branding and sponsorships and things like that to fill the seats through group outings and things like that. And I'm not sure if you've seen or if people have noticed just in the sport industry as a whole, now it's more of a hospitality thing. What can we insert into these stadiums and arenas to where people aren't actually sitting in their seats the whole time? They have things to where they can experience not only what's going on the court or on the field, but what's going on the business side of sports as a whole too. So
So
it's kind of
you're
headed in
talking
that
about
direction.
the customer experience as a
Right.
whole. So what can we do to enhance the customer experience from the moment that he enters in the arena or in the stadium for football, and then when he watch the game, and then when he goes, for example, for halftime or for any timeouts, he has a time, to take a beer or to go to any kind of, hospitality. Greetings. I mean, it's very, very important for the customer, to have an experience and to remember the experience because, I mean, you have the sports related, experience, which is, did they win or did they won or did they lose? But you have also, so how was it to be in there, How was it to attend a game at the Q Arena for the Cleveland Cavaliers, for example? So it's very important also to have that in mind because sometimes people forget about, that type of, aspect. They only look at, okay, so could we go to Cleveland? Oh, no, because it's not a team that has won a lot of games. But sure, it might be a tremendous experience, Then
Exactly.
you can't go to, I don't know, I don't want to take a knockoff on anybody, but you can't go, I don't know, to Denver, to see the Denver Nuggets, but the experience is not there,
Right.
So also people can take that factor in consideration when going to NBA games and to sports events in general.
Yep. And that's a real good point to kind of wrap up, what I said too, because
Mm.
I think what I like about you, man, is like you're good at storytelling and like painting a picture. And I think, that's something that's going to help you down the road too. So,
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
no doubt.
Appreciate it. But so with all that, experiences in business and in your career, what is, the hardest job application that you went through? Do you have one that stick with you or one job interview that you said, shit, that wasn't easy at all, but you still managed to get the job or you left the office and you went, nah, that job is not for me and still
Okay. I would honestly say right now, man, due to COVID and the pandemic, right now is probably the hardest time that I ever had. Like applying for jobs and things like that. But one that I can remember. Oh, and then one thing I wanted to say too. I'm sorry. A lot of the times when I first got out to the Bay Area, I kind of made the connections to the jobs that I had through people that I knew. And you always
Mm,
hear in the sport industry, it's not who you know, but who knows you. But
mhm.
also what you can bring to the table. What value are you bringing, to the team you're working for or the organization? So that's how I got the first few jobs that I had. And then when I worked with the Oakland A's, they kind of brought you into the office. They made you speak to the people who are already there, kind of like in your shoes before. So that was kind of like a drawn out process, probably like 6 months to a year. So I think that was the hardest thing for me was just waiting on that. And then also hearing about how you have to be a fit and things like that too. So I didn't want to come into those interviews or conversations not being myself.
Hmm.
And I think everybody goes through that development
Hmm.
process,
Yeah.
no matter what job you're doing. And I think, once I got, a few months in and things like that, I was able to kind of get rid of that thinking, but it was definitely part of me during the interview process.
You know, because in a job interview, I totally get what you feel and what you're saying there. When you get into a job interview, you're trying in your head, you're saying, so how can I please them so then they can hire me, you know? So it's not
Right,
how can I please them, is how can they please me also.
right.
You got to
Yeah,
think about that. And sometimes we way too much forget about that point, you know. So we're trying to be, the best seller of ourselves, of our resume, and what we did in our lives professionally. But sometimes, you have to be true to yourself, true to your values, true to your passion. And I
right,
think 2020 has been really that year where people were really honest towards themselves because with the quarantine and the coronavirus, people had the time to think and to take a step back on their career and realize that their job wasn't for them, or maybe the whole career field wasn't for them. So it's really important for our viewers also to get that that when you go to a job interview, you have to be true to yourself and true to your passion and what you want to do in life, right?
right. And most definitely. And I think to kind of go off of that too, you also have to look at the other side of that because sometimes we're in different parts of our lives. I call it phases, to where you have to do what you got to do.
Hmm.
And sometimes you have to take roles that you may not want to do in a way. But at the same time, that may lead you and open your mind up to something that you were supposed to be doing all along, or something that you could do on the side, or lead you to a network and connections that you may have not been thinking of. You know what I'm saying? So it's that side of it too. But like you were saying, you don't want to be in a position to where you're doing a job and you're miserable and you're not happy with where you are. You don't see a connection to the next thing that you want to do. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So I think that's a big part of it too.
Yeah, for sure. And so speaking about, quarantine and the coronavirus, in the actual context, how do you keep yourself mentally on top to stay sharp and trying to advance and moving forward?
That's a real good question. I think for me, man, I don't like using cliche terminology.
Cliche,
Usually,
which is a French word, cliche.
right, exactly. But I'm gonna say this one, like keeping the main thing, man. Like I think for me, regardless of if I have a job with the company that I want or not, there are certain goals and like a vision that I have for myself, and I think that keeps me driving towards that. You know what I'm saying? And then
Hmm.
also being, right now I'm in Cleveland, so I'm around family, I'm around a support system, and I have things that I'm working towards that I'm not really rushing, but I'm taking incremental steps every day towards. So I think that has all helped. I think God has definitely been here with me too, kind of leading me, um, allowing me to grow spiritually in that sense too. So I've just been trying to take things day by day, man. And for me, it has worked out so far. I know a lot of people have been going through a lot during COVID, but I would say the virus really hasn't, outside of a job, really
Hmm.
affected how I go about what I do.